It's the My Michelle Live podcast.
My Michelle Live.
Yes, it is. Hey, welcome to the weekend, my friend. How long does this go anyway? It's like going on forever. We're just gonna start breaking dancing pretty soon.
I'm telling you. I do feel like dancing right now.
Right now, just forget the podcast. We're just gonna start dancing.
The podcast. Who needs to talk about movies? Let's just dance.
You know what? There's a T-shirt in that, Mr. Paul Acey. That's right. We are taking on movies today with the one and only Plugged In Paul.
I'm Paul Acey. Here we are.
Yes, we are getting you plugged into the movies, looking at what's out there. But we do it. I love what we do, and I love what you do at pluggedin.com because it's not just about us saying this is what the movie is. I liked it. I didn't. We do that. Don't get me wrong. But we kind of give you the things so that you can choose for yourself, right? I think, why isn't everyone doing that? Because I don't really care that, well, I liked it and this is why I liked it. I want to know what's in it for me, right? Isn't that what you're kind of looking at a review for? What's in it for me? Not what the Ascended think, but what's in it for me.
That's exactly right. We try to tell, especially parents, when they are taking their kids to the movies or figuring out what to watch on Netflix, they want to know whether they need to worry about this movie. They want to know what sort of messages it has, what sort of bad content they might be exposed to, all that kind of stuff. And so that's what we try to give parents. We try to give them the tools to make good decisions and to give ourselves some good tools as well, because the site ironically attracts a lot of adults that are very interested in just keeping track of that stuff themselves.
Yeah, there you go. It's a lot. It's a lot that we have to go think about this as you're watching. When you go, especially now, they're saying we spend more time now surfing through what we're going to watch. Here's something for you guys who, millennials and, later generations. Back in the day, I think there was NBC, ABC, CBS, and maybe PBS. And that was it. You had those, what was on, what was on. We've talked about that. Now you spend a lot of time searching and going, no. And so we are here to help you with some things that you may want to watch. You may not want to watch. I know that there's a dragon movie that is out there. I want to know a little bit more about that.
Whenever there's a dragon in the title, you just think, oh, that might be a movie for me. Right? I do like dragons. This one you don't get to see a lot of great CGI dragon work here. This is Wish Dragon, which is a PG movie that you can find on Netflix. The movie was originally released in China, and Jackie Chan is involved in its production. Jackie Chan is obviously a very familiar name.
Yeah. Is he voicing?
He is not voicing as far as I know.
He should. He's great. And he had an animated Jackie Chan series, if you remember. Look it up.
Yeah.
And, he's great. He's funny. He knows how to act with his voice. So
he is really incredible. He really is. But it's really about the story of these two kids, not really kids anymore, but back in the day, they were kids and they were very, very good friends. Din and Li Na grew up together for the most part. And when they were together, they were as thick as thieves. But circumstances sort of split them away. And now that both of them are older, kind of college age, Lena has become this fabulously wealthy and famous entrepreneur. Well, Din is still back in his hometown, working away, doing the college thing. But Din wants more than anything to reunite with his old friend. It seems unlikely because Lena probably doesn't have much recollection of their friendship at all. She's just too rich and too famous to really give much thought to that anymore. But Din really wants to make that happen. He doesn't see any way that he can until he meets this old man who gives Din a magic teapot of all things. And in that teapot, he finds 1,000-year-old dragon named Long.
Which
And
is a
Long,
lesson in life if you're ever going to be going to antique stores or Goodwill or something. Always
exactly.
check inside those things before you buy,
Because you
because
never know.
you
You
never
never know
know.
what you might find. You might find loose change. You might find an old receipt, or you might find 1,000-year-old dragon. You just never know. So Long, the dragon, is very, very, he is sort of like this genie, and he tells Din that he can give him 3 wishes. Now, most people, when they get wishes, they wish for riches or fame or power or something like that. Those are the things that Long's used to hearing. But Din only wants to reunite with his very best friend. And the movie really is this chronicle of how that reconciliation, that reunification takes place. It's a very, very sweet movie with some incredibly strong messages about friendship and about family and about what's really important in our lives. It's not the richness, it's not the power, it's not the fame, it's the people that we love. And because of that, the movie has a very nice tone to it. Now, because it does have this Eastern backdrop, you are going to run into some Eastern spirituality. You have some elements of magic, of course, and some parents can be pretty sensitive to that. But for the most part, those are the only things that you really have to worry about in this movie. You do have people who want that magic teapot for themselves, of course, but it's animated, it's light, it has very little content that parents really need to worry about. So it's a pretty strong choice. If you're looking for something new for your family, this one is as good as it gets this week.
I like it. Something else that isn't quite new, but I think worth a watch is another dragon movie that I watched this week, Paul, and that's Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yes.
What a precious film about trust and peace and friendship and what's important. I really enjoyed that movie. It was well done, captivating, and sweet.
Yeah. It really is a beautiful
Right?
movie. I'm sure we're going to be talking more about it come Oscar time, when it comes time to
Oh.
select animated feature films. This very well could be on the list. And I don't know what it is about animated movies with dragons in them. They seem to work pretty well. I mean, one of my favorites is How to Train Your Dragon, right?
Yeah, come
It
on.
was such a good movie.
That was a great
Such a
movie.
good movie.
Yeah, it really was a
But
good
I'm taking
movie.
us off track.
That's okay. That's okay. I like them. And that's, have a dragon theme this week as we go into summer. I always tell people one of the best things you can do, put up a sheet in the backyard, put some outdoor movies. I love doing that. It's that time of the year. So have a dragon theme. Why not? There you go. We've just given you fodder for your own dragon fetish right there. Boom. It's great. Now, something that I grew up on was musicals. I love musicals, those old time musicals. Don't love them when they try to remake them. Haven't liked some of the recent ones. Jingle Jangle, a Christmas musical, freaking amazing. That was so well done. La La Land, oh my gosh. No, don't even bother. That was one of the worst movies. That and Cats. Oh my gosh, it's just like I can't watch this. But In the Heights might be a different story.
It might be. I would be interested to hear your take if you happen to see it. In the Heights is the latest musical of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who of course is very, very, very famous for Hamilton. Hamilton was a huge, huge phenomenon back in 2016, 2017. This is another Broadway production that he's bringing to the screen, and he makes it into more of a traditional movie. It's about this community in Washington Heights, New York City. And it really focuses on 2 primary characters, Usnavi and Nina, and Usnavi's girlfriend, Vanessa. So three characters actually, and it rolls in a whole bunch of other characters as well. It's sort of this ensemble production, and it's filled. I don't know how you liked Hamilton if you've seen it, but it is very Hamilton-esque. It has songs, dances, raps. It feels very energetic, very lively, and has a really poignant story in a way attached to it. Obviously, the people who are part of this community, they're struggling with how the community is being gentrified, so it's pricing some of the folks who live there out of the market. They are trying to just make ends meet. They're working, they're living their lives, but they're also dreaming big, thinking about what might be beyond what they're living now. And so that blending of this traditional community that is so tight knit, and those big dreams of maybe going beyond that community to do something special, it's a great blend of really what I think are pretty strong messages. It talks again about family, about friendship, about priority, but it does have some problems. Like we saw in Hamilton, you hear some language, so that's kind of an issue. You have some references to roles in The Hague. You have lots of couples dancing sort of sensually together. You see a very brief glimpse of a same-gender couple together. So you have some sensual elements that parents especially should be watching out for. But at the same time, it really does have that characteristic musical feel to it, where it makes you feel good to watch it. And that's what musicals are really all about, right? They're about making you feel good and light and lively. And this has great music, great numbers, and it has some really nice messages as well.
Yeah. And then sometimes when you're dealing with real life situations, okay, in real life, most people don't break into song and dance, although we do in our household. So, just saying, you're going to see some of those real elements. You're going to, sometimes you play that off. Nonetheless, what did I think of Hamilton? I, of course, the music and the story, compelling, spectacular. I had to say that I did not listen to the soundtrack before going to see it. And so I found myself a bit lost. If you don't know the music, you don't know the story. Right. It's not your typical, Hamilton is not your typical music. It's more of a rock opera.
And it goes fast. The songs go fast. It's almost just like a machine gun rap at times. So if it does help to have some familiarity with the songs and the lyrics.
Or closed caption would be kind of helpful. But if you know the story and you know the music, it is fairly spectacular. So seeing this, I guess we'll see. It may have what I think Hamilton did lack a little bit of, which was that ability to kind of catch up before they move on to something else. If you're doing real life, you have that. I loved a message in Hamilton. When I first saw it, I thought, are they going to be, this is like a very diverse cast. George Washington wasn't black. What the heck? Or is this one of those in your face things? No. What I came away with was, it doesn't matter what color this guy was. The fact is that this is representative of all of us. And boy, did I love what I took away from that message. So I'm interested to see what In the Heights is going to hold for us in some of those deeper messages. To me, that's what makes a better movie and maybe even a better musical. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I think that you will not be disappointed in that. This is, again, as Hamilton was in a way, this is a story about immigration. This is a story about different cultures blending together. It has some strong messages, but not in an alienating way. I think that this would be a movie that wouldn't necessarily alienate people who feel very strongly on either the right side of the divide.
I am
or
so
the
glad to
side.
hear that. I mean, what kind of movie does that anymore? I'm saying, just saying.
I would say that it's gently progressive, you know. So I would, but I don't feel like it's alienating.
Okay. Yeah, everybody has a worldview. You know, it's going to come
Right.
out.
Right.
I'm interested in the worldview of Infinite, though. Now, that's something that we've seen a lot of previews for. You've had thousands of lives, you know, and before our broadcast, you were talking about Highlander, which, if you've seen the original Highlander movie, that's pretty iconic.
Yeah, yeah. It is. That was what ran through my mind as I was watching it.
Yeah,
Was
was
the
it?
old Highlander movies, you know, and just for those who might
There
be
can
too young
be
or have better
only
things to
one.
do than watch a yeah, exactly. Highlander is about these immortal beings who all of a sudden together, and the only way that any of them can die is having their heads cut off. And so they get their heads cut off, and then if one dies, then the victor says there can be only one. And so that's sort of the way it goes.
Just like that, too. Says it just like that. Nice job.
Just like that. There can be only one. No, it's a little deeper than that. But I'll work on that the next time I'm on, Michelle.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Infinite is a little like that in that you're dealing with these immortal beings, but the catch is that they are immortal because they are reincarnated. They have gone through all manner of reincarnations and remember every single one of their past lives. So
Wow.
they keep switching bodies, but they still have the same souls, the same minds, whatever. And they, like the Highlander, you have these, well, this is not quite like the Highlander, but you have these two factions that are at war with one another. One side, which call themselves the Believers, want to better mankind. They feel like their past memories can help us all be better. Another group called the Nihilists, they're sick of this reincarnation thing and they want to get off. But the only way they can get off this cycle of reincarnation is by killing everyone else. So they want to destroy the world. Those are the stakes that we have. The nihilist, one of the head nihilists, has developed this doomsday egg, he calls it. And Mark Wahlberg, who is the star of this movie, he plays a character named Evan, who somewhere deep inside his noggin, he knows where the egg is kept. And that makes him a very critical character for both the evil guys, the nihilists, and the believers who want to save the world from the nihilists' terrible, terrible destruction.
Nice.
So
that's fascinating to me. How imaginative.
It is pretty imaginative. It doesn't necessarily soar to the heights that you might hope it would narratively, because there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of really strange things. There's a couple that say they always meet at Angkor Wat every time they're reincarnated to rekindle their romance, but everybody gets their memories back when they're teens. And I'm thinking, what kind of parents would let their kids just fly off to Angkor Wat every single, it just seems wrong. So it just felt a little bit odd to me. At times, it's not as smart as you would probably like it. And of course, you have some spiritual issues that you have to wade through. Whenever you're talking about reincarnation, and you're watching from a Christian point of view, you're going to see some things that sort of differ from what
reality.
Exactly. Christian truth.
But it is fiction, people. It is fiction. So
it is fiction, but if you have kids, those are conversations that might
But is this really a movie for kids? It sounds like it's going to be violent. It sounds like, I mean, I love Highlander, but if I have kids at home, we're not sitting there watching, eating popcorn and watching people cut off other people's heads. So
you are absolutely right on. Now, the original Highlander, from what my faded memory tells me, was R-rated. You don't have any heads flying in this one. but it is PG-13, and it is a pretty harsh PG-13. You hear quite a bit of cursing and some pretty harsh cursing at that. And the violence, of course, is pretty over the top. You have someone who tries to close and cauterize a wound with a cigarette lighter from the car.
Oh, hey, well, if it works, survive. It's like Bear Grylls right there in the urban environment. Okay.
Exactly. So you have some violent moments, you have some language, and then you have the spiritual issues. So this is probably not a movie for younger kids for sure. It probably gets its PG-13 rating by the skin of its reincarnated teeth.
I like it. Well, in our last few minutes together, we need to touch on it because I'm geeky this way. Loki. So let's talk Loki for a minute. Let's do this.
Loki. Man, I tell you what, you and I, every time we get together, we find a way to geek out a little bit on
Heck
superheroes,
yeah.
right?
Heck yeah.
So this is the third Disney Plus superhero story that they've given us in television format. We saw WandaVision, which was incredibly creative in terms of how it blended the superhero genre with sitcoms.
Yeah.
Traditional sitcoms.
That was fun.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier felt more traditionally. It was very issues based, but felt like just this rushing superhero movie.
But it was what? Look, I'm going to just opine here for a minute. It was wonderful. It was comedic. It was good. Yes, there was violence. WandaVision was so innovative and I loved it. It ended kind of dark though. And that was kind of disappointing, but not altogether unexpected though. It started as innocent as absolutely possible and ended, a little disturbing. Got it. I think Disney though was brilliant, Paul, in putting these in series, especially in a time where we're looking for something, so we can tune in, we can watch it, binge watch it if we want, or have something to look forward to every week in the midst of all of the craziness. With the Legion of Justice or Legion of Doom there, they should have done the same thing, that long movie that, you don't even want to see. If they would have broken it up in a series and I could watch it on television like that, I think it would have been tolerable. Some thoughts. So how is Loki being presented?
So Loki is it feels a lot like, to me, a little bit more like WandaVision.
Okay.
It is an hour-long show, but it deals with it's pretty comedic, at least at the opening bell. I've had an opportunity to see the first two episodes, and it's funny. It is very funny. Owen Wilson stars as Mobius Mobius, who is this detective for the Time Variance Agency, which is trying to sort of keep people in their own timelines, because when they start jumping out of timelines, things go crazy.
Loki, it's always like that. Remember, leave that to Doctor Who. He knows what he's doing. Other than that, people just back off. Okay, this is your PSA for today. Stick with the time that you're at. Just saying, bloom where you're planted. Okay, all right.
Loki is not much of a bloomer when it comes to that. He picks up his roots and he starts running away. And if you remember the end of the very final Avengers movie, Endgame, you see that Loki escapes with the Tesseract.
Yes.
So he actually now is off his timeline and he's captured by the Time Variance Authority and is brought in to answer for his crimes. But Mobius, again played by Owen Wilson, needs Loki's help to capture a much worse time traveler. And so that's sort of where the story begins. It has some really nice philosophical notes. It talks a lot about predestination and free will in a way. It talks a lot about whether this Loki character can be saved. Can he be redeemed? He's always been such an interesting villain within the Marvel
he has.
universe. So that whole idea of redemption is coming from where I sit, it's fascinating to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Yeah.
There are some problematic moments, of course. It has some language, including some S words lobbed here and there. But for the most part, it's what you have come to expect from these Disney Plus shows, in that it's very well done, it's very creative, and it's pretty fun.
I like that. So that's something I'm really going to look forward to before we cut you loose and let you get on to, I can't imagine anything funner than this, but it could happen. I wanted to mention that our friend Paul Acey, of course, you can find his reviews, and you can find reviews on movies, books, YouTube channels, video games, music. I think I said that, everything pop culture at pluggedin.com. But he's also written the book Beauty and the Browns, Walking with Christ in the Darkness of Depression. And I'm going to tell you, for anyone, and there's a lot, even more so now than ever, dealing with depression, it's an essential book to find an inner peace that is unshakable. It's a fabulous book. For those of you who don't have, aren't dealing with clinical depression, but even situational depression or angst, to be able to ground yourself, center yourself. I'm not going to lie. We all have those times where our world is rocked, our feelings are hurt, we're scared, we react. But what do you do with that? Those feelings are normal. It's what you do with them that shows your character. And the Bible says that trials bring patience, endurance, strength, and strength, character. And some of that, as you walk through this book with you, oh my gosh, you're so candid about your struggle with depression. Here, Paul is the most gregarious, funny, fun, interesting guy. But for him to share, this is what I'm really struggling with. This is the darkness that haunts me. It's both brave and inspiring. It's a great book.
Well, thank you so much for that. It's something that, one of the funny things about depression, if you can call it funny, is that I think a lot of people hide it. There's obviously a stigma about it, and people, I think, and like you say, I think we all tend to pretend things that we're okay, even if we're not. And so the book was sort of my attempt to sort of say, listen, it's okay to be honest with your feelings. It's okay to be honest that you're not feeling great at the moment, and that sometimes things can look pretty dark. But hopefully I try to give a little bit of hope and maybe some coping tools within the book. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being on with us today. Plugged in, Paul.
I'm Paul Acey.
That's right. Thanks for joining us. Hey, like us, share us. Go to MyMichelleLive.com if you want more information, and you can find information on Plugged In Paul and the gang there at Plugged In Movie Reviews. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Anytime, Michelle. Thank you so much.
More entertainment at MyMichelle